Am I just insignificant? Trigger warning. Infidelity, gaslighting, terminal cancer. This is not meant to be offensive, it's just something I'm wrestling with. My girlfriend, 27F, and I, 29M, opened our relationship a little over 2 years ago. Obviously, she had more success than I did, but I've had a couple of dates here and there. Non-monogamy isn't really a world for men with social anxiety. One of the rules that she wanted to establish was no emotions, just sex. While I accepted the rule, I said from the beginning that having absolutely no emotions isn't realistic. Inevitably, you will start to feel something for someone. Long story short, I was right. She met this guy, 27M, they developed feelings, we talked, and now we are a poly, I guess. Don't really know what to call it. Trouble doesn't seem right since he and I aren't dating. But neither of us guys have other partners outside of her. Anyway, we've had this structure for about 7 months now and it's going fine. She seems to be happy. I just don't see what place I have in this relationship. Not sure if that place really even exists. In monogamy, it is much easier to see. It's only the two of you. But here, not so much. I'm happy that she's happy, but I don't really think it is needed. I've talked to many and researched things, but none of those arguments make sense to me. They may have sex with others, but you'll have an emotional bond in our case. She has one with both of us. I think emotional connections are a dime a dozen. You have one at some point in everyone you date. Sexual chemistry is way more rare and usually is just there or it isn't. And from the unfortunate time that I walked into our apartment and didn't know he was there, it is very clear they have incredible sexual chemistry. Emotional connections can be developed anytime. So what security is there in that? Monogamy doesn't exist sounds good, but not sure if that plays out well. Especially seeing that the only person not monogamous here is her. We are both basically in a monogamous relationship. And while you supposedly can't expect to get all you need from one person, that's exactly what we're supposed to do. But only from half of that person. Every connection is unique and special. Maybe so, but ours clearly wasn't enough. She needed more. I didn't. I was happy and fulfilled. She wanted other experiences. But that stopped when she met him. And while I try not to make it a competition, she clearly has a level of passion for him that she doesn't for me. She won't have sex with me when he's around. I have to wait until he leaves. She asked me to leave when she wanted to have sex with him. She isn't nearly as cuddly with me either. At this point, it feels like the only reason I'm around is because we are entangled, money, lease, cars, etc. I also know that I'm here for emotional support for hard stuff. Working in EMS, I've learned to stay calm and clear in high-stress situations. I'm also supporting her financially with schooling. But I'd like to be more than just an ATM and a security blanket. Don't really know what to do about all this. So much of what I've read talks about not comparing, just getting over jealousy, giving people autonomy, not being attached, dependent, etc. Don't know where that leaves me. While not really relevant, I'm going through some significant health issues. It's uncertain if I'm going to make it through. She doesn't know about it. Haven't found a good time to say. Maybe that's why I'm just being emotional and insecure. I know both are terrible traits in a man. Anyway, I guess this just turned into a vent, but any thoughts or input is welcome. Edit. I'm a firefighter and hazmat tech. It's most likely that my health issues are related to a work incident. Therefore, the people I work with know. I have told any family or friends yet. At this point, I could come out most okay or could have until the end of the year. I'm trying to wait until we know more. Edit 2. She and I live together. He has his own place but has 3 male roommates. GF doesn't feel as comfortable there. Update 1. Long story short, I pretty much ignored everyone's advice. Not really. I do appreciate all the input that I got on my last post. But every time I wanted to broach the subject, either something got in the way or I just chickened out. She is still seeing the other guy. Let's call him Caleb. Life kinda sucked at first since they were mostly using our house to avoid his roommates, but this summer he got his own place. So they no longer meet at ours. Which is great because accidentally coming home when they are together is not great. Hearing your GF scream another guy's name takes a long-ass time to fade from memory. I've met the guy. He seems nice enough. Total opposite of me, so I see why she's so into him. Dude's like 6 feet 2 inches with that lean surfer boy type look. I'm like 5 feet 7 inches and shaped like a tree stump. Anyway, that problem pretty much solved itself. She stays with him about 3 to 4 nights a week. Occasionally, she'll stay over for a long weekend or even a week. They've even gone on a few trips together. TBH, part of me is jealous, but at the same time, I see how she looks at him. I just don't have the heart to get in the way of that. Unfortunately, our sex life has taken a bit of a dive. Not long after they started seeing each other, we stopped being intimate as often. We still are, but it's only like 1 to 2 times a week. Everyone got tested and they've gone barrier-free. Supposedly she was just tracking her cycle but did have a pregnancy scare. So now she's on birth control. I'm not particularly happy. I mean, I'm happy she's happy, but this isn't really what I pictured for my life. I always imagined having this passionate, loving relationship where we were everything to each other. Sometimes I just feel like more of a convenience than a partner. It's pretty obvious she was never into me as much as she is him. That sucks but can't change it. On the health front, unfortunately I don't have great news to report. Turns out I do have cancer. It wasn't as aggressive as they thought, but it is terminal. At this point, I'm looking at somewhere around March. GF doesn't know. I know I'm an AH for that. I'll tell her eventually. She's just not around much, and when she is I just want to be fun. I know I can't compete with Caleb, but I don't want to just be the sick one. I thought about just breaking up, but that seems mean. I recently saw Twilight for the first time. When I finished the part of Bella mourning Edward leaving, it made me wonder if she'd feel the same. TBH, I don't think she would. Caleb is pretty much primary at this point, so I'd rather be peaceful on the way out. When I do go, she'll have him. Work sucks because I can't ride the engine anymore. Once I got worn out walking up steps in bunker gear, I knew I can't fight fire anymore, so I'm just on the medic now. Anyway, that's it for now. Hope you'll have a happy holiday. Hug your loved ones tight. Relevant comments. For God's sake, man. Tell this woman that you have terminal cancer. Not only is it the right and smart thing to do, but you need all the support you can get, and she deserves to know. Do that first. Like now. Oopie. I know I should. I should have gone a long time ago. When I started having issues, she had just decided on the poly thing, and that was a lot to process for me. Then read about disentangling and not getting in your partner's way. Unfortunately, my character flaw took over and went all or nothing. Then as time went on, it just felt more and more awkward to do. Update 2. I finally told my GF about my health issues. It was a long, rough night. Saturday night, we went on a date. Usually she'd be with Caleb, but he's out of town visiting family for the holiday. I don't know if he felt it was too early for her to meet his family or what, but I definitely thought I'd be alone for Christmas. But apparently she's staying here, so that's nice, I guess. We went to dinner and, after, got to go see Wicked. Not gonna lie, the dynamics between Glinda, the munchkin dude, and the prince made me wince a bit. Felt kinda close to home. Minus me stringing some poor girl along. Regardless, I did enjoy the movie a lot. We got home and curled up on the couch, and that's when we had our talk. Decided to withhold any info about how I've been feeling, as that felt pretty ancillary to the main topic. I basically just described how I had been sick more and more tired. Then told her about my annual physical from last year and all the doctor's visits since. Then I finally told her about the diagnosis and having until March. To say that this was hard is an understatement. I don't think I've ever seen her cry that hard. Or anybody for that matter. What kind of reaction I was expecting, but not that. We kinda attempted to continue talking, but it was no use. So I just carried her to our room and held her until she cried herself to sleep. When I woke up Sunday morning, she wasn't in bed. My initial brain fog kinda forgot about what happened, but when I remembered, I went to find her. She was sitting at the table in the kitchen. She was still crying, but we were able to talk about everything. I told her about the bucket list, preparations I've made, etc. It was all smooth until she kinda jerked up, looked at me, and asked, "How long have you known?" It was at this point I knew I fucked up. As tempting as it was, I didn't lie. I told her I've known I would die for a year, and I found out about it about 2 months back. OFC, she asked why I didn't tell her, and I didn't know what to say. She asked if I was trying to get back at her as some weird revenge, which kinda annoyed me a bit, but I let that go. I told her I was preoccupied with getting used to an open relationship, that it felt like it came out of nowhere, developed fast, became poly, and I was just being dragged along. That not having her around, hearing them have sex, and watching her fall in love with someone else was hard enough. Predictably, she got pissed. Felt like I was blaming her for who she is, and a few more unpleasant things. At this point, I just listened as she yelled and screamed. She finished. I apologized for not telling her, but then asked, if this was all my issue, then how come your partner has been sick and dying for a year and you never noticed? I immediately regretted saying that because she kinda just broke. She didn't cry. She just went silent and sat down on the floor. I tried to comfort her, but she pulled away. So at this point, I figured we needed space and I left. Went to a friend's house for the day. Sunday evening, I got a text from her asking me to come home. I did. When I got there, she had ordered food. When she saw me, she ran up and hugged me. At this point, we both cried. We ate and watched Is It Cake. Eventually, she paused the show and we talked. She apologized for lashing out. Said she was just angry and confused. I apologized for what I said. She told me not to, and that what I said is what she felt. So when it was out in the open, she just shut down. I told her that I love her and not to hold it against herself. At this point, she wanted to help me plan out the last few months. She also said that she'd be breaking up with Caleb, but I told her not to. If he actually loves her, she's gonna need his support. We will wait till after Christmas to fill him in. We talked more about plans and went to bed. Don't know what will come of this, but that's where we are now. Relevant comments. While I admire your capacity for kindness, I would say I think you would be well within your rights in telling her to take a break from him while you are in these last few months. She may need his support, but you deserve a period of joy while you go through this, and I don't think he brings you joy. If he really loves her, he will understand and be there when the time comes. So sorry, man. This is awful, and I wish you a peaceful few months and all the happiness in this life and in whatever comes after it. Upe. She's planning to cut down on their time. Before she was with him for half of the week. Now she talks like once a week or once every other day. She hasn't talked to him yet though, and that's a pretty big change, so how he'll react. Comment. I mean, her other partner, you, is dying. That's the best reason to focus one's attention temporarily on that partner. If he doesn't understand this, then he's just not a very good human being. Upe. I agree, but I can't control how that plays out. How she'll be when the shock wears off. Update 3. As far as the situation with the GF, we are good. We let Caleb know about everything. They're still in contact but haven't been meeting up. We recently took a trip for New Year. Very last minute and incredibly expensive. It was worth it though. Had a great time and got to reconnect. Surprisingly, a lot of people have asked about my kids. I guess it shouldn't be surprising based on the circumstances, but given that this was a non-monogamy subreddit, I haven't included any information on that. Anyway, the kids do know. They have for some time now. I guess it is relative seeing that they are 6 and 4. Both are in therapy to get a head start on the grieving process. As a parent, you never really know if what you're doing is right or enough until they get older, but hopefully it helps. I started a college career fund for both of them a few years ago. Their inheritance will go into those. I've also been writing letters to them for future birthdays. Was an idea given to me by my therapist. To say it's been painful is an understatement. Outside of that, I've taken more pictures with them in the last year than ever before. Just trying anything at this point. A few asked about the ex-wife. That's complicated and I'd rather not get into it. I will say though that she does know and we've been planning things for the kids together. As you can see in my post history, I originally wasn't going to tell her anything. I've since realized how much of an I was being. I was bitter and frustrated when I wrote that post. TBH, I am quite ashamed of it now. I won't be deleting, however, for the sake of transparency. I've made my rounds to other families. At least the main ones. The only person I've left out is my father. We don't have a relationship and I have no desire to see or talk to him. I was delayed in telling my mom because I knew she'd be a wreck. She's super religious and is still holding out hope for a miracle.
Personally, I'm okay.
Some days are better than others. Sometimes I feel normal and some days I get run over by a tractor trailer. You always think you have so much time. Then life happens. I've seen people on their worst days and yet never imagined I'd be here. I guess that's just how it goes. I've still left out several details, but this is the internet, so sue me. I'd rather not have people in my personal life find this. My mom finding out about the poly stuff might be worse than cancer and kidney failure. Our unspoken agreement is that my kids got here by prayer and osmosis. If there's something in particular you'd like to ask, feel free to message as many have. I may not get back immediately, but I'll try. Typically, I wait until I'm not an emotional wreck to write here. Take care and hug the ones you love.